Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our live coverage of the latest mission from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. I'm Will Robinson Smith. I'll be conducting our commentary for the duration of this coverage. We are broadcasting from the Spaceflight Now News Bureau here at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Tonight is a big launch that we've been talking about in some of our recent live launch coverage, kicking off 2025. Blue Origin currently counting down to the launch of its first orbital class rocket named New Glenn, which is standing tall at Launch Complex 36 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. You see the flare stacks going to the north and to the south of the vehicle as Blue Origin has been in the flow of loading propellant on board its New Glenn rocket throughout the course of the evening. We'll have much more to discuss about this rocket, its mission, its importance to Blue Origin, and all of that. First off, want to give a nod to our Spaceflight Now editor, Stephen Young, who's running the technical operations of the broadcast tonight. Stephen is also going to be doing some tracking duties for us as we've got our team kind of spread out across the south, really, right now, as we've got our forces here in Florida in preparation for the launch of New Glenn, as well as down in southern Texas in anticipation of Flight 7 of SpaceX's Starship rocket. Adam is in Texas for us. Michael is here with us in Florida. If you're not already following the fellows, you can find them over on X. Adam is at Aburn NYC. Michael Kane at MD Kane Jr. You can also follow Spaceflight Now simply at Spaceflight Now. We are on X as well as Facebook, Threads, and Blue Sky. We're joined with tracking tonight by our friend Pete Carsons with Max Q Productions, as well as Chuck and Jen Briggs with C&J Images. Got lots of great angles on the New Glenn rocket tonight, taking a look essentially due east from the vehicle. You see the strong back there, the transporter erector, weighing about 4 million pounds, that helped bring New Glenn out of the hangar at LC-36 out to the pad and brought up vertically. The clamp arms that are holding on to the rocket there, you see them jutting out a little bit from the center of the transporter erector. Those will release and the TE will pull back at the moment of liftoff. Got another view of transporter erector compared to the rocket from this angle here, more from the north looking south. You could just make out part of the feather logo from Blue Origin that is curling around the second stage of the vehicle, just above the forward module. Got some good visual points to distinguish which part of the rocket you're looking at here. You see the sort of brownish copper tone. That's a thermal protection material that Blue Origin invented. It's called Comet. You'll also see that around the aft section of the booster. So just above the top of that forward module, that is the second stage, which leads into the payload fairings, of course, at the top of the New Glenn stack. Some of the biggest currently flying there are 7 meters in diameter, or about 23 feet. Before we get too much further talking about the vehicle, I want to thank the now 2,800 of you who are joining with us live at this part of our launch coverage. If you haven't already, you could do us a big favor just by clicking the like button. Allows more folks to find their way into this live launch coverage this evening. Also want to thank our moderators in the live chat, Callisti Lee, Astro Joe, for being with us tonight. If you do happen to see any of the other mods find their way into the live chat, be sure to give them a nice and courteous hello. We're powered by a wonderful channel member community here on YouTube who make these live launch opportunities possible. So thanks to folks like the Rocket Girl, Patty Chichil, Josh King, Sulfur for Lunch, Trinity, aka Mama T, and many others. Channel membership comes with a number of perks, including discounts at our online shop, that is shop.spaceflightnow.com. Access to member-only videos here on YouTube, access to our members-only Discord server, and of course the ability to watch all of our live liftoff moments from here in Florida in 4K. Speaking of our channel member community, I want to thank our moderator and channel member Astro Joe for gifting a Spaceflight Now membership. Appreciate you, Astro Joe, for growing our community here. And to our newest channel member, welcome aboard. Glad to have you with us. If you haven't already, be sure to thank Astro Joe in the live chat. We hope you decide to stick around with channel membership. Last little bit of housekeeping. If you have a comment or question about this mission or would just like to offer some support as we continue on through the count, you can use the YouTube Super Chat feature like Trinity did. And not only will he be giving us some interesting things to talk about as the countdown rolls on, assuming your comment or question is appropriate to be read as part of our broadcast, but you'll also be supporting what we do here at Spaceflight Now all at the same time, and that, my friends, is greatly appreciated. So thanks to Trinity for a $10 super chat. No message, just wanted to offer some support tonight, which is very lovely. Time currently L minus 1 hour 17 minutes 26 seconds and counting. Blue Origin has a 3-hour launch window that is available to it, which opens up at 1 a.m. Eastern, that is 0600 UTC. Lasts for a total of 3 hours, so closing at 4 a.m. Eastern. Weather has been a sticking point for Blue Origin as far as getting to this mission. Not necessarily always at the launch pad, but for those who may not know, this mission is distinct because Blue, with its New Glenn rocket, is entering into the reusable launch market and will in fact attempt to land the first stage booster on their landing vessel, which is named Jacklyn, in honor of Jeff Bezos' mother. Weather in the landing zone has been less than optimal for the first couple of launch opportunities for Blue Origin, which is how we ended up on today. While the countdown clocks are still moving at this hour, not 100% clear if Blue Origin will in fact be hitting the opening of the window tonight. We'll pass along additional information as we're able during the countdown here. 45th Weather Squadron looking at today's forecast, or really the forecast for tomorrow, technically. 90% favorable for a liftoff, with the only concern being the thick cloud layers rule. Offshore landing weather much better than it has been in recent days, as I just mentioned. According to meteorologists, the sea height is around 5 to 6 foot level of waves for this primary window today. If for whatever reason Blue Origin decides that they're not able to launch today, the 24-hour forecast is significantly worse than it is tonight, looking at just a 40% chance of favorable weather Tuesday morning in that 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. pocket, with cumulus clouds, thick clouds, and liftoff winds all being concerned by meteorologists. Currently L minus 1 hour, 12 minutes, 17 seconds, and counting to the start of the window. Taking a look at this flight profile graphic from Blue Origin, you can see the overall plan for the NG-1 mission. This first flight of New Glenn will not feature a deployable payload, but instead Blue Origin is flying its Blue Ring Pathfinder. This is a precursor to the operational version of Blue Ring, which will be able to host a series of payloads on up to 13 adapter rings. It's designed for orbital maneuverability to be able to move both within a given orbit as well as in between orbits. So in this nearly 6-hour mission in total, Blue Origin will conduct a number of tests with the Blue Ring, which will remain, again, affixed to the New Glenn second stage. Talk about the launch countdown, or the launch timeline, in just a few minutes here. But the second stage will head into a medium Earth orbit. You can see the apogee and perigee there on the bottom right-hand corner of the graphic. An apogee of about 19,300 kilometers, a perigee of about 2,400 kilometers at a 30 degrees inclination. This, of course, will be Blue Origin's first launch from Launch Complex 36. Prior to this inaugural flight for the New Glenn rocket, there have been 111 previous orbital launches from this pad. And soon, Blue Origin will add its name and its rocket to that roster as well. We'll come back with a little bit more of a detailed launch trajectory map in just a little bit here, but want to give you an overview for folks that are in the Central Florida area or perhaps a little bit to the north or to the south. This is a good sense of timing for once New Glenn takes off from Launch Complex 36. It'll fly in a generally southeasterly trajectory, slightly southeast. Leave this up for a little bit so you can familiarize yourself with the timing of visibility depending on the level of cloud cover where you might be. New Glenn first stage powered by a combination of liquid oxygen and liquefied natural gas. Liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen power the vehicle's upper stage. Here's a good breakdown of the two types of engines that are used to support the New Glenn rocket. The BE-4, for those who were with us for last year's launches of United Launch Alliance's Vulcan rocket, will remember the BE-4. Two of those power the first stage of the Vulcan vehicle. They use a slightly different ignition system than the BE-4 engines that are on New Glenn. Key difference here being, of course, that New Glenn will reignite the first stage engines for a landing burn, and that is not part of the flight path for the Vulcan rocket. Both the BE-4 and the BE-3U engines are manufactured up in the Rocket City, that is Huntsville, Alabama, home of NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center. Fun fact, also used to be my home for about 4.5 years. A lot of good folks up in Huntsville, a lot of folks there, I imagine, very much glued to their screens and eagerly awaiting the flight of the rocket that they've spent so much time with. Now L minus 1 hour, 7 minutes, 9 seconds, and counting to the start of the window. Time now, L minus 1 hour, 2 minutes, 15 seconds and counting. The opening of the window tonight. Let's go ahead and talk about the countdown timeline for this inaugural flight of New Glenn, some of the milestones that we've already passed and what is still ahead of us as we approach the opening of the launch window here. About T-minus 5 hours is when the go for prop load was given. That was about 8 o'clock tonight Eastern, 0100 UTC. That was followed 30 minutes after that by the beginning of second stage liquid hydrogen loading. Liquid oxygen began flowing aboard the New Glenn first and second stages simultaneously at about the T-minus 4 hour mark. And the final bit of fueling to begin, T-minus 3 hours and 30 minutes, when Blue Origin began to flow the liquefied natural gas on board the New Glenn first stage, also referred to as GS1, or So You're Telling Me There's a Chance is the proper full name of the booster. In now less than 60 seconds is when prop load is expected to be completed and replenishment or topping off will get underway. Fast forward about 40 minutes, Blue Origin will conduct a final weather check before it's ready to proceed into the final phase of the count. There will be a final go, no go poll taken at T-minus 10 minutes. The terminal count will pick up at T-minus 4 minutes. Tanks are pressurized at T-minus 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Vehicle will turn to internal power about a minute after that. The water deluge system at LC36 will activate T-minus 20 seconds. At the same time, the automated systems of New Glenn are turned on. And then finally, the 7 BE4 engines at the base of the booster will ignite at T-minus 5.6 seconds. And if all goes well with the ignition of those engines, set to see liftoff of New Glenn at T0, which, if Blue is in fact ready to kick things off at the opening of the window, is in less than an hour. Just past midnight here on the East Coast. Less than an hour to the opening of Blue Origin's 3-hour window for the New Glenn mission NG1. At this point, Blue Origin was expected to have started its broadcast, noting that it would begin 60 minutes before launch. We've also heard from a few different sources that there may be a 30-minute slip in the T0. We'll, of course, pass along any additional updates or confirmation of a new T0 as it becomes readily available. as we're continuing to track towards the hopeful launch of New Glenn in these overnight hours. Want to thank a few folks for their support. First off, want to thank the now more than 5,800 of you who are joining with us live. If you haven't already, you could do us a big favor by clicking the like button to allow some more folks to find their way into this live launch coverage. Just want to thank a few individuals in the live chat. Channel member Wolverine Warlord with a $10 super chat asking if Blue Origin founder Jeff Bezos is at the site tonight. Wolverine says, I remember the last time Elon flew and he landed at the shuttle landing facility. Could you even imagine that? Unreal. We do know that Jeff is here tonight. Say Jeff like I've known him for years. That Mr. Bezos is here in Florida and presumably is still at the manufacturing complex at New Glenn Mission Control. I imagine he will be on console at this point. So, yes, very much would want to be present for this first orbital launch of Blue Origin history. Josh King, another channel member with a $5 super chat. Good evening, Josh, who says, good evening, Will. Question from the last Falcon 9 from the West Coast. Are all the NRO missions have classified payloads? Broadly speaking, yes. The NRO itself was a classified agency for its first about 30 years of existence. So, yes, the majority of NRO payloads predominantly stay classified. Want to welcome new channel members Captain Action and Norma Barton joining us with channel membership at the pad leader level. Welcome aboard to the two of you. We're glad to have you with us. Thanks to Callistia for gifting 5 Spaceflight Now memberships. Appreciate that generosity. And United Nations Space Command marking 17 months with us as a channel member at the mission specialist level. Appreciate you continuing on with us for that long and on still. And thanks to channel member Nelson Reyes for a very generous $20 super chat. Thank you, Nelson, who says, great information video on New Glenn. Spaceflight Now keeps raising the bar when it comes to space launch coverage. Share their videos with all your friends. That's very kind, Nelson. And yes, to those who have not had the chance to check it out, we do have a new video on the channel right now, New Glenn Explained. If you want to open it up in a separate window and maybe put this commentary on mute while you check that out, it's a good overview, not just of the New Glenn NG-1 mission, but broadly speaking, talking about the New Glenn launch vehicle as well. So good primer, good reference point if you want to go back and just refresh yourselves on New Glenn in the future. Time now L minus 51 minutes and counting to the start of Blue Origin's 3-hour window. Once again, for those who may have just now joined us, we have heard from a few sources that the T0 liftoff may have been pushed by about 30 minutes. So looking at a 1:30 potential departure for the New Glenn rocket, 0630 UTC. Blue Origin has also not started its own launch broadcast, which was slated to begin about 60 minutes before liftoff. So if that is still in fact the case, that would lend additional credence to a what we're hearing is a possible slip in the T0 about 30 minutes into the window. That said, that's 30 minutes into a 3-hour window, so still plenty of time for Blue Origin to work through whatever it's working through and get to a launch today. Time now L minus 47 minutes, 53 seconds and counting to the opening of tonight's window. There are some interesting details that are tucked into the New Glenn vehicle. Take a look at this image provided by Blue Origin. You see one of the company's slogans just beneath the mission patch there, for the benefit of Earth, which they use in a number of their promotional materials. What may be a little hard to discern, but is within the texture that you see behind the letters that spell out for the benefit of Earth, those are the signatures of a bunch of the Blue Origin employees. So a nice way to give a tip of the hat to a whole host of folks who've spent countless months and years working towards this inaugural launch, and many more that are coming behind it. Take a different look at the payload fairings, which again are about 7 meters in diameter, about 23 feet. You can see the mission patch for this NG-1 mission. Of course, the New Glenn rocket is going to be supporting quite a number of different missions once it really gets going. Originally, the NG-1 flight was going to be a launch for NASA, sending 2 satellites on their way to Mars as part of the Escapade mission. Those twin spacecraft named Blue and Gold, the colors of Cal Berkeley. the research scientist behind the Escapade mission, manufactured by Rocket Lab. First New Glenn rocket was scheduled to fly in the October timeframe in support of the Escapade mission, but because of delays with New Glenn, the call was made shortly before fueling the Escapade spacecraft that they would be held onto by Rocket Lab. They're now back in California, as a matter of fact, at the Rocket Lab facilities in Long Beach, California. And what was set to be the second mission for New Glenn was pulled forward as NG-1, the launch of the Blue Ring Pathfinder. Here's a look from the front of the New Glenn stack. The live pictures that you're seeing on the right-hand side of your screen are, of course, from our camera's perspective, showing more of the strong back, but this gives you more of a sense of what the front of the vehicle looks like with the mission patch on the payload fairings at the top. The gray feather strewn across the second stage, powered by two BE-3U engines. Just beneath that is the forward module on the GS-1 booster, or Glenn Stage 1. It's got a reaction control system as well as those flaps on the forward module that help control stability and steering as the first stage booster will attempt to make its way for a landing on the landing vessel that Blue Origin is named Jacklyn in honor of Jeff Bezos' mother. The color difference between the rest of the vehicle and what you're seeing on both the aft and forward modules of the booster, that brownish tan color is actually a thermal protection system that Blue Origin invented and named Comet, and ultimately made the decision to not paint it and just let it be as it is, in part because, of course, the paint adds additional weight. That was just one of the points of consideration. local time here in Florida, 12:22 a.m. Eastern, 05:22 UTC. Do you see with our countdown clock in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, we are currently awaiting a new T0 for this mission. As we mentioned previously, we've heard from a few different sources that the T0 had at least moved to about 8:30. There may be an additional adjustment in the T0. Again, of course, we will pass along relevant information, especially once we get it confirmed, as soon as we're able to get it verified. But it does appear, though, that Blue Origin is no longer targeting the opening of the launch window at 1 a.m. Eastern, 0600 UTC. That said, they do, again, have a 3-hour launch window today, so still plenty of maneuvering space here with this inaugural flight of New Glenn. As we're continuing to track the progress of Blue Origin and its New Glenn first flight, let's go ahead and take a look at the space that is quite a buzz with activity right now. This is New Glenn Mission Control. Apologies, just troubleshooting. Technical glitch. We've got the video working here. This look inside New Glenn Mission Control provided by Blue Origin. This space is located inside the expansive manufacturing complex that Blue has. It's positioned just outside of the gates of the Kennedy Space Center here in Florida. You could see on some of the screens in the background some of the mission animations showing the upper stage of New Glenn, as well as the first stage booster returning for a landing on the barge in animation form. What Blue Origin is certainly hoping as the best case scenario of what may happen with this launch coming up here in the overnight hours. as we are trending towards this inaugural flight of New Glenn. It's also a very busy time, as it seems to always be here on the Space Coast and across the country as far as launch is concerned. Coming up here just tomorrow morning, we have a Starlink launch that is planned to take off from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Looking for a liftoff of that Falcon 9 rocket at 10:08 a.m. Eastern. That'll be followed up on Tuesday by the Transporter 12 mission, launching from Vandenberg Space Force Base on another Falcon 9 rocket. And then right back here in Florida, potentially as early as Wednesday morning, the opening of a 6-day launch window for a pair of robotic lunar landers that are going to be flying from Launch Complex 39A atop yet a third Falcon 9 rocket. One from Firefly Aerospace. That is their Blue Ghost lunar lander. The other is iSpace, based in Japan, and their Hakuto R Mission 2 lander. And then all of these missions will be bookended by a flight that is currently set for 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, flight number 7 of SpaceX's Starship rocket from southern Texas. So lots of launch activity for folks to enjoy around the country this week. Local time currently 12:35 a.m. Eastern, 05:35 UTC. The broadcast from Blue Origin has begun, so we're getting some great pad level views of the rocket here that you're seeing in the big box. The commentators from Blue Origin have not noted a T0 liftoff time, though. As we get more specifics on that, we'll note that and update our countdown clock. Again, we had heard from a few sources of a 30-minute slip. Local time 12:38 a.m. Eastern, 05:38 UTC. Got a brief glimpse of the Blue Ring Pathfinder payload. That's what's on board this particular New Glenn rocket for this inaugural flight. I'll take a look at some B-roll of the Blue Ring Pathfinder here. Once again, coming to us from Blue Origin. These stills prior to the encapsulation inside the 7-meter or 23-foot diameter payload fairings. Some animations of the more operational version of the Blue Ring. The Blue Ring Pathfinder will be checked out over the course of a roughly 6-hour mission today following liftoff. Following second stage engine cutoff number 1, about nearly 13 minutes into flight, the Blue Ring will be powered on to begin some checkouts. Once again, the Blue Ring is going to remain affixed to the GS2, or the Glenn stage, to the upper stage of this rocket. Operational version of Blue Ring will have 13 ports that can support a whole host of different satellite classes, as well as a 2.5 metric ton payload at the top deck. The goal of the Pathfinder version of Blue Ring on the NG-1 mission will serve to establish ground communication capabilities, also affirm that they can receive telemetry and store mission data on board as well. This view of the Blue Ring Pathfinder that was just on your screen, believe may be inside the New Glenn vehicle, that those were live pictures that we were seeing from one of the onboard cameras. taking a closer look at that forward module, since we've got this great pad level view from Blue Origin right now. You see those flaps that are jutting out. Those extend, just to give you a sense of scale, they are standing out about 6.5 feet away from the body of the rocket is about how far they jut out. Scrolling on down the vehicle, the first stage, which the forward module is the top of, has 7 B4 engines at the base fit, powered by a combination of liquefied natural gas and liquid oxygen. The LNG tank is about 30,000 cubic feet, or around 224,000 US gallons. The LOX tank on the first stage of New Glenn is about 25,000 cubic feet, or about 187,000 US gallons. Each B4 engine is capable of providing 550,000 pounds of thrust at sea level, which combined for about 3.9 million pounds of thrust at liftoff. For comparison, that's about twice the power of a Falcon 9 rocket, but less than that of a Falcon Heavy, which produces 5.1 million pounds of thrust. Seeing live picture now, this is the Jacklyn barge positioned out in the Atlantic Ocean, which is staged and poised to potentially catch the first stage of the New Glenn rocket if it is able to stick the landing. So you can see lots of lights that are ready to illuminate the booster once it does land. As you can see, we've updated our countdown clocks. We are targeting, or Blue Origin is targeting a T0 currently no earlier than 1:30. So we've adjusted our countdown clock to reflect that. The clock we're counting down towards is T0 of 1:30, but again, just as a broader context, Blue Origin is saying that they're tracking a launch no earlier than 1:30. As the specific T0 is refined, we'll continue to update the countdown clock, but for now, just want to couch that what you're seeing in the upper right-hand corner is a countdown towards 1:30, the earliest point that Blue may launch tonight. Time now, T minus 32 minutes, 53 seconds and counting. Currently counting down towards a T0 of 1:31 a.m. Eastern, 06:31 UTC. Time being confirmed by Blue Origin. The next milestone in the fueling timeline, or the countdown timeline, is a check of the weather that's coming up here in just about 12 and a half minutes. Time now, T minus 30 minutes, 28 seconds and counting. Now at the top of the hour here, just about 30 minutes before the planned liftoff of the inaugural flight of New Glenn from Launch Complex 36 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Taking a look at our live chat here, want to welcome in one of our mods, Aussie Space Girl, joining us from down in Australia. Appreciate you hanging out tonight. I also want to thank a few folks in the live chat as we're now less than 30 minutes from the planned liftoff of New Glenn. I thank channel member Toby Wobe for being with us for 6 months, checking in from Starbase, but supporting the mission here in Florida, and then gifting 10 Spaceflight Now memberships. Appreciate that generosity. And to our 10 newest channel members, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you with us. Be sure to thank Toby in the live chat if you haven't already. Now T-minus 25 minutes, 30 seconds and counting. We're just about 5 minutes away from the planned weather check. Taking a live look here inside New Glenn Mission Control. You see in the frontmost row next to the gentleman who just stood up, Jared Jones, you see Blue Origin founder Jeff Bezos, also founder of Amazon, of course. Just to his left, our right in this camera view, that is Dave Limp, the CEO of Blue Origin. So for those who were curious about Jeff Bezos' whereabouts during this launch attempt, you see him right there on your screen in the heart of New Glenn Mission Control. Now T-minus 21 minutes, 1 second and counting, about a minute away from the expected weather briefing. Want to take a quick look now at some B-roll that we shot as Blue Origin's landing vessel named Jacklyn was setting sail from Port Canaveral. This video of the landing platform, which is about 380 feet in length, about 116 meters. width of 150 feet or 46 meters. Some of the support crew that set sail on the barge that was leading Jacklyn. At the middle of that landing platform, you see just on the opposite side of the tug is the landing zone, the same diameter as what supports the New Shepard suborbital launch vehicle. It's about 200 feet or 61 meters in diameter. And it's set to support the landing of the first stage, which stands 188 feet or 57 meters tall. Blue Origin designed the first stage boosters to be reusable for up to a minimum of 25 flights, I should say. That is the floor that they are setting for their first stage boosters. The first one of them to fly supporting the NG-1 mission is called So You're Telling Me There's a Chance. Nod to one of Jim Carrey's most popular films, as well as the opportunity for Blue Origin to try and stick the landing. Per the countdown timeline, the weather briefing was set to happen about a minute or so ago. Have not heard an update from the Blue Origin launch commentators confirming that weather is still green for launch. It was getting a little cloudier, though, as we were getting closer to T0. T-minus 17 minutes, 51 seconds and counting, as a number of folks around here in Central Florida are eagerly awaiting the launch of New Glenn here as soon as in 17 minutes and 38 seconds. There are also a number of folks in space that are up and waiting for this launch as well. In an air-to-ground communication, NASA astronaut Sonny Williams called down asking about the status of the New Glenn launch. Mission Control affirmed at that point that they were about 20 minutes away from liftoff, so that call coming down about 3 or so minutes ago. Taking a look at a helicopter view of New Glenn from just offshore. Also know from NASA astronaut Don Pettit's son that if the International Space Station is able to get within view of Launch Complex 36 in Seed's ascent, that he may try to capture the launch as well. So may be able to get some interesting photos or perhaps some video from Don Pettit, who's, for anyone who's followed him, of course, knows he is an ace photographer and able to get some simply incredible views from on board the space station. Do have a new T0 update. Just heard the commentator note that they're 37 minutes and some change. Now T-minus 37 minutes and about 9 seconds. Again, Blue Origin does have the ability to hold their countdown and shift the time. So unlike a Falcon 9 or a Falcon Heavy rocket, where once fueling has begun, they lock in a specific T0. For the New Glenn rocket, they do have 3 hours in the launch window. They started fueling around 8:30 tonight. They are now in topping off mode. Counting down once again, about T minus 36 minutes, 27 seconds and counting. We've adjusted our clock to reflect the new T0. Once again, if you're just joining us, we do have an updated T0 from Blue Origin. They are counting down towards a liftoff of New Glenn now, looking at a T0 liftoff at 1:52 a.m. Eastern. 1:52, that is 06:52 UTC for those joining around the world. Blue Origin not providing a specific reason for the adjustment in the T0 at this point in time. That said, they do have a 3-hour window that closes at 4 a.m. this morning, so still quite a bit of wiggle room remaining. Time now. Time now, L minus 31 minutes, 19 seconds and counting. Blue Origin at this point counting down to a liftoff at 1:52 a.m. Eastern, 6:06:52 UTC. One of the commentators noted that they are continuing to watch the weather and that the sea state has been a little bit rough in the landing zone for the New Glenn first stage booster. So you're telling me there's a chance, given this is their first go at trying to land a booster, they want to try to give them as best a shot as possible. So part of the delay, as has been described at this point, has been to allow for things to calm down a bit at sea. Time now L minus 23 minutes, 17 seconds and counting. As we're approaching what we believe again to be just a few minutes away from the weather check, let's go ahead and talk about the launch timeline for the NG-1 mission, this first flight of New Glenn, and the nominal milestones that will occur if everything goes exactly according to plan for Blue Origin. The liftoff currently set for 1:52 a.m. Eastern, 06:52 UTC. The vehicle will begin to pass through max Q at the point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle, about 1 minute and 39 seconds post liftoff. There will be a few events in fairly rapid succession after the 3-minute mark. We'll see first stage main engine cutoff when the 7 BE4 engines at the base of the booster cease their first burn. 2 seconds later will be stage separation. That'll be followed by the ignition of the 2 BE3U engines on the second stage, SES-1. And then just a little more than 10 seconds after that, Blue Origin will cross the Kármán line, the internationally recognized boundary of space, something often referred to during their launch broadcasts for their suborbital New Shepard rocket, which, while it doesn't go into orbit, as the name suborbital certainly suggests, it does give paying customers the ability to experience a few moments of microgravity at the top of their apogee. The payload fairings on New Glenn are jettisoned at about T plus 3 minutes and 49 seconds. At that point, it'll expose the Blue Ring Pathfinder to the vacuum of space for the first time. Fast forward nearly 4 minutes. The first stage entry burn set to begin at about T plus 7 minutes and 17 seconds. For those more familiar with watching a Falcon 9 or a Falcon Heavy rocket, you'll note that the entry burn quite a bit longer here, about 28 seconds in total. Landing burn set to begin at T plus 8 minutes and 52 seconds. And they will aim to set the booster down on the landing vessel called Jacklyn at T plus 9 minutes and 28 seconds. Now, if the booster is experiencing any type of anomaly or seems that a landing on Jacklyn is ill-advised or not possible, the booster does have the ability to divert away. Moving on, the upper stage engines will cut off at about T plus 12 minutes and 51 seconds. Then the Blue Ring Pathfinder will power on at T plus 13 minutes and 51 seconds. Just a few more milestones here. The second stage engine will reignite T plus 57 minutes and 42 seconds. After a burn of a little more than a minute, those BE3U engines will power down. Second stage will reorient itself. It's a maneuver called nadir pointing. T plus 1 hour, 59 minutes and 18 seconds. And then it will really begin the crux of the mission for the Blue Ring Pathfinder, with the mission set to end just before they reach about 6 hours of flight. The upper stage at that point will then be safed, and Blue Origin will begin to set its sights on a flight coming up in the months to come here. If you haven't had the chance to take a look at our website, spaceflightnow.com, we do have our preview article up on there. And tip of the cap to Aviation Week. We had a great pre-launch conversation with Jeff Bezos, the founder of Blue Origin, who noted that they have a couple of first stage boosters that are currently in flow right now, and about 7 or 8 second stages in work. So they are planning to fly again in the spring, quote, regardless of what happens. Local time now, 1:35 a.m. Eastern, 06:35 UTC. Blue Origin has provided another update on the planned liftoff of their New Glenn rocket. The new T0 liftoff time now set for 2:07 a.m. Eastern. That is 07:07 UTC. We've adjusted our countdown clocks, now just under 31 minutes to go once again. Taking a look at a mission profile video of the New Glenn rocket. Is the point where the vehicle is reorienting itself using its reaction control system as well as those fins at the top of the forward module. The booster has 3 engines that ignite. Those are gimbaling engines. Is a look at the entry burn for the GS1 or the Glenn Stage 1 booster. The landing burn will begin at about 3,000 meters before it reaches the drone ship in a nominal flight. There'll be a pivot from the 3 engines just to the 1 center engine. About 6 seconds before landing, the 6 landing legs will be deployed. We're taking a look at there. That little robot is the Recovery Remotely Operated Vehicle, or ROVE. It connects to the booster, providing power, communication, and pneumatic links between the booster and the platform. Here's a look at some samples of what the New Glenn is capable of carrying on orbit. That last one, of course, a rendering of the Mark I Blue Moon lander. Unclear, though, if the stack of satellites was just a generic model that has no real bearing on actual satellites, or if, in fact, that may have been a little tease as to what the Project Kuiper satellites from Amazon, another Jeff Bezos venture, may look like. Of course, Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket was contracted for at least 12 and potentially an additional 15 flights supporting the launches of the Project Kuiper Internet constellation satellites. time now, T-minus 18 minutes, 41 seconds and counting. We're just a little bit there. Unfortunately, that's been taken down now, but saw a nifty thermal image of the 7 BE4 engines at the base of the New Glenn first stage booster. Each of these engines provides about 2,450 kilonewtons, or about 550,000 pounds of thrust at liftoff, combined about 3.9 million pounds of thrust. Prop on the first stage is liquefied natural gas as well as liquid oxygen. Each of the BE4 engines has a height of about 12.5 feet or about 3.81 meters. The nozzle diameter is about 6.33 feet or about 1.93 meters. Take a look at the center of the rocket, the top of the booster, that forward module. You can see those the forward module fins that jut out from that module. At the base of those are about 16 feet, and they protrude about 6.5 feet from the body of the rocket itself. So we're now less than 16 minutes to go towards the current T0 time at 2:07 a.m. Eastern, 7:07 UTC. The next milestone per Blue Origin that's coming up is the Go No Go poll. It's coming up at about T-minus 10 minutes, followed by the terminal count. Blue Origin sharing a little information now about the launch director who's supporting the mission today. Ben Dijkstra. Now L minus 13 minutes, 34 seconds and counting. I want to thank the more than 15,000 of you who are joining with us live for this inaugural flight of New Glenn. If you haven't already, you could do us a big favor by clicking the like button on this video. Allow some more folks to find their way into our live launch coverage. I also want to thank a few folks in particular in the live chat. Thanks to Wrights Crispy for a very generous $20 super chat, one of our wonderful channel members. It says, watching the southeastern sky from Alachua, Florida. Proud of the indigenous people who are involved in this project. Channel member Michael McRory, been a member with us for 12 months at the spacecraft commander level. Appreciate that support, Michael, who says, never seen a launch of a new rocket go off as planned on his first try. Reference shuttle, Titan 3, Delta, etc. But I have a good feeling about tonight. Go Blue Origin. As we're now just about 12 minutes away, this current moment in time, from seeing New Glenn take to the skies, let's go ahead and take one more opportunity to look at where this rocket is going to be flying in a nominal flight path. Taking a look at a Google Earth view of Launch Complex 36 there at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Vehicle will be flying in a slightly southeasterly trajectory once it leaves the pad. It's heading up to a medium Earth orbit today. Again, assuming all goes as intended. And one of the big milestones, the icing on the cake, has been described. The attempt to land the first stage booster of New Glenn, called So You're Telling Me There's a Chance, on the landing vessel called Jacklyn. It's positioned out in the waters of the Atlantic Ocean. Of course, being that this is a brand new rocket, the first time that Blue Origin has attempted an orbital launch, they are preparing for whatever may come their way, and they will soldier on. And as you mentioned, thanks to an interview that Aviation Week conducted with Jeff Bezos prior to the launch today, they do have a couple of first stage boosters in flow and 7 or 8 second stages also in work. Great look at the payload fairings here as Blue pans to the top of its 98-meter tall rocket there. These fairing halves at their base are 7 meters in diameter, about 23 feet. Full integrated rocket standing, again, 98 meters tall, 321 feet. That stack you're seeing here from a helicopter view, one of the flare stacks in the foreground. now have another change to the T0. We're bumping back by about 20 minutes here. We're adjusting our countdown clocks to reflect that. Again, Blue Origin does have a 3-hour window that opened at 1 a.m. Eastern, closes at 4 a.m. So now looking at a 12:27 a.m. Eastern launch at this point, 7:27 a.m. UTC. Noel minus 21 minutes, 7 seconds and counting. Per Blue's timeline, they're back in getting ready to perform another weather check. Presumably, they're, of course, still watching the conditions out in the Atlantic Ocean where the landing vessel named Jacklyn is positioned. I want to thank a few more folks in the live chat with the time that we have remaining. Again, Blue does have its window extend for another 2 hours from our current time right now, closing at 4 a.m. Eastern. I want to thank Matthew King for a $3 Australian super chat. Appreciate you, Matthew. I want to welcome new channel member Betty Green joining us with channel membership at the pad leader level. Welcome aboard, Betty. We're glad to have you with us. Glenn A. is marking 15 months with us as a channel member. Saying you folks at Spaceflight Now are great. Thanks. Well, thank you so much, Glenn, for the kind words. Taking another look at the infrared view of the BE4 engines at the base of the New Glenn first stage booster. As a reminder, the first stage booster powered by liquefied natural gas and liquid oxygen. The 3 engines at the center across the screen here are able to gimbal, providing steering as the booster performs its entry burn as well as the landing burn, and they shift from 3 to 1 during the final seconds of the landing burn. Each engine provides 2,450 kilonewtons of thrust as well as put into the way 550,000 pounds of thrust at liftoff. This is an engine test of a BE4 engine out in Texas. Blue Origin took over a test stand in Huntsville at the Marshall Space Flight Center, where it now can perform vertical tests of the BE4 engine. That being historic test stand 4670, built back in 1965 in order to support the Apollo program as well as the Space Shuttle program. Now being operated by Blue Origin after quite a bit of refurbishment, of course, to be able to work with the BE4 engine. Are also able to do tests of the BE7 engine in Huntsville. BE7 are engines that will be on the Blue Moon lunar landers. those who may have missed earlier, here's a good side-by-side comparing the two engines that power the first and the second stages of the New Glenn rocket. You can see the notable size difference with the BE3U engine nozzle. BE3Us are, of course, optimized for use in the vacuum of space. Upper stage of New Glenn, powered by a combination of liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. BE3Us stand 14.57 feet, or about 4.4 meters, with a nozzle diameter of 8.25 feet, or 2.5 meters. What you're seeing here are the BE4s on your screen right now. Upper stage has a total of about 320,000 pounds of thrust in vacuum. This video, again, you're seeing is in infrared, so what appears to be black in this camera view that you're seeing fall likely some ice that looks different because of the type of camera that's being used right now. Going back to have an update on the T0. Looks like we're about 34 minutes and 34 and a half minutes away from the new T0 here. We're updating our countdown clocks to reflect the new time. 2:48 is your new T0. 2:48, that's 07:48 UTC. Time now stands L minus 34 minutes and 7 seconds. Time now currently L minus 27 minutes, 30 seconds and counting. I want to thank channel member Wolverine Warlord for a $10 super chat. Appreciate that, Wolverine. Who asks, Will, do you know if the drone ships for Blue Origin and SpaceX, etc., are available on AIS? Would love to track them with marine traffic if possible. Typically, the drone ships themselves are not. Occasionally, sometimes the tugs that work alongside them are, but that's not always the case. So, fair question. And always not to the full extent of where they reach the landing zone as well. Chadwick Green with a $10 super chat as well. Thank you, Chadwick. Appreciate your support tonight. Same to PS with another $10 super chat. Thank you, PS. Tim H, $10 as well, saying thanks for the great coverage. Good luck, New Glenn. Valerie Jones, been a member with us for 13 months, shouting out her husband, Andy, who watches launches with me. Go Blue Origin. Thank you to Bon Bon for a $2 super chat. Patty Chichil gifting a Spaceflight Now membership. Thank you, Patty, for growing our community here. To our newest channel member, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you with us. And thanks to Maria Stexon for gifting a membership as well. Thank you, Maria. Question and a super chat from channel member Michael McGrory asking if the pushbacks are because of ocean problems, not tech problems. At one point earlier in the broadcast, the Blue Origin launch commentators noted that there were some concerns with the recovery weather, that they were waiting to see if they calmed down. And they did make a mention of the weather just now. They have also reiterated a number of times that the teams and sub-teams are continuing to go through their checklists, and that some items sometimes take longer than anticipated, and that they're trying to give their teams the full breadth of time that is available to them. Once again, their launch window this morning runs until 4 a.m. Eastern, 0900 UTC. So they do have a number of opportunities with which to punt the T0 liftoff time today, if they so choose. And an update from the Blue Origin team, their team member that is by mission control for this mission did note that they are working through some anomalies. Did not provide a great deal of specificity. Now currently L minus 12 minutes, 30 seconds and counting. We're just about 2.5 minutes away from the point at which they're have to make the call on proceeding tonight. The go no go poll once again now close to being upon us. Again, Blue Origin does have a 3-hour window today that ends at 4 a.m. Eastern. Last update from one of the commentators who is near the New Glenn Mission Control noted that there were a few anomalies that were being worked right now by the team. So TBD if they have been able to resolve those. We do have a new update of a T0. Now about 38.5 minutes to the new planned liftoff. The new T0 is 3:14 a.m. Eastern, 08:14 UTC. We've updated our countdown clocks to reflect that. Correction, 3:15 is the T0. 3:15 a.m. Eastern, 08:15 UTC. For those just joining, once again, as a reminder, we are now back once again at L minus 34 minutes, 13 seconds and counting. Blue Origin cruising into the final hour of availability today, targeting a liftoff of its New Glenn rocket now at 3:15 a.m. Eastern, 08:15 UTC for those joining around the world. Blue Origin launch commentator noting that the weather at the pad as well as in the recovery zone where the landing vessel Jacklyn is currently located are currently, quote, in bounds. In other words, favorable for a liftoff and favorable weather conditions to support a landing attempt. However, they are still continuing to troubleshoot whatever issue may have cropped up earlier in the count that is still yet to be resolved. Time now L minus 25 minutes, 36 seconds and counting. As Blue Origin continues to press towards hopefully a launch opportunity tonight is the hope, of course, from them. They only have 45 minutes left to play with as far as if they have another push of the T0. If in fact things turn out where they're unable to launch tonight, just want to reference what the weather looks like in a 24-hour turnaround. This is what we have definitively at this point in time from the 45th Weather Squadron. While the weather for this launch attempt today was a 90% chance of favorable weather with just the thick cloud layers rule as a factor, in a 24-hour turnaround scenario, the conditions drop in quality quite dramatically down to just 40% favorable, with cumulus clouds, thick clouds, and liftoff winds all playing concerns from meteorologists' standpoint. Liftoff winds trending between 25 to 35 feet per second, according to meteorologists. Offshore landing weather, though, remains a low risk in a 24-hour turnaround scenario if it comes to that. Unfortunately, the forecast from the 45th Weather Squadron only includes the single 24-hour delay backup, so don't have from a launch weather perspective and this level of deep detail view of a 48-hour turnaround. Otherwise, we would provide that context for you as well. I can tell you just locally, based off of sort of broader weather data, Wednesday looks like it's going to be partly cloudy. High of 63, low of 50 degrees. Wednesday also busy as the launch schedule currently stands, though, as the launch of Firefly Aerospace's Blue Ghost lunar lander along with iSpace's Hakuto R Mission 2 currently on tap for a launch at 1:11 a.m. Eastern, 06:11 UTC. Assuming that mission is ready to go and the weather cooperates, that will lift off from Launch Complex 39A here at the Kennedy Space Center. In between now and then, we have another 2 Falcon 9 rockets that are targeting liftoff. Later on this morning is the planned launch of the Starlink 12-4 mission, a flight of 21 Starlink satellites, 13 of which feature direct-to-cell capabilities. The following day, set to be the Transporter 12 mission, the 12th ride-share flight to a sun-synchronous orbit on a Falcon 9 rocket lifting off from Vandenberg Space Force Base. On board that flight are, among others, 35 satellites that were integrated by the company ExoLaunch, along with 37 satellites from Planet Labs PBC, 36 Super Doves, and the Pelican 2 satellite. Of course, right now we're tracking the planned launch of New Glenn on its first flight, NG-1, hoping to lift off in 21 minutes and 13 seconds from Launch Complex 36 at the Cape. Local time now, just past the top of the hour here, 3:02 a.m. Eastern. Do have an adjustment of Blue Origin's clock. Now looking at a new T0 of 3:28 a.m. Eastern, 05:28 UTC. This puts Blue right at about 30 minutes left in the window to make any additional time adjustments. Again, the window today runs until 4 o'clock this morning. It's actually a very nice static view of the forward module on the new Glenn first stage booster. Those fins that you were seeing that jut out, again, about 16 feet in length, jutting 6.5 feet from the body of the rocket. And they were able to swivel and work in tandem with the reaction control system thrusters at the top of the booster that help orient the vehicle in space as it's preparing to make the start of its entry burn, guide it toward the landing vessel named Jacklyn during the booster recovery event. Time now locally 3:06 a.m. Eastern, 08:06 UTC. While the clock is running right now, L minus 21 minutes, 14 seconds and counting. I'll note for the record that the countdown clock over on Blue Origin's broadcast has been removed from being an on-screen graphic. It's unclear if they have officially decided to stand down from a launch opportunity today. We're working to see if we can get confirmation if they have in fact scrubbed. So we'll just go with the information that we have right now. That again, clock's still moving from our vantage point now about 20.5 minutes. But Blue Origin has opted to take down their on-screen countdown clock at this time. We do have an update for you at 3:09 a.m. Eastern. Blue Origin officially scrubbing today's launch attempt. We'll quote them here. Quote, "We are standing down on today's launch attempt to troubleshoot a vehicle subsystem issue that will take us beyond our launch window. We're reviewing opportunities for our next launch attempt," end quote. So with that official word, Blue Origin has scrubbed this first go at launching New Glenn, tanking the vehicle in pursuit of a liftoff. Let's listen in.
We are standing down today's launch attempt to troubleshoot a vehicle subsystem issue that will take us beyond our launch window. We are reviewing opportunities for our next launch attempt. So we've scrubbed today's NG1 mission to give the team more time to work that issue, and we're reviewing what other things that we might need to get done in that period. When we know when the next opportunity is, of course, we will let everybody know. Now, to give the viewers a sense of what happens next, the launch team is now working to detank and safe the vehicle. From there, we're going to assess, as mentioned, what other things we might want to get done in our downtime, and that is what's going to guide when the next launch opportunity will be. Follow us on social media. That's the way to stay up to date on announcements for that next launch attempt. We do want to thank you for joining us. We can't wait to get...
And with a scrub tonight, we are going to wind down our live coverage. Certainly appreciate those of you who have been with us for the duration. Want to thank folks that have been supporting along the way. A quick rundown of folks in the super chat. Want to thank, let's see, Meg McGilroy for a $5 super chat. Happy to see you all tonight. Well-reasoned Superhawk, been a member with us for 14 months, saying thanks for the great coverage as always. Heather Bloom Doan with a couple of $2 super chats. Appreciate you for that. Tobe Wobe and United Nations Space Command, both gifting 5 Spaceflight Now memberships each. Appreciate you growing our community. Thanks to Crystal Sanchez for a $10 super chat, and to R for a $5 super chat as well. Apologies if I may have missed any of the others, but we're going to go ahead and with the scrub stand down tonight, because tonight is now this morning, and this morning we still have a Falcon 9 launch that we need to get prepared for. So going to go ahead and say some thank yous and goodbyes. Our thanks, as always, to our friends Pete Carstens with Max Q Productions, to Chuck and Jen Briggs for being at the ready to track New Glenn rocket. They'll be back with us again when next Blue is ready to make their launch attempt, as you heard there, in the process of detanking and safing the vehicle as we speak. Want to thank our moderators in the live chat who've been helping us out. Thanks to Rusty Shackelford, Astro Joe, Callistia Lee, and Aussie Space Girl for all helping us out. Thanks to our photographer, Michael Kane, for being ready at the waiting to help shoot this launch as well. You can follow him at MD Kane Jr. on X. Our other photographer, Adam Bernstein, helping to get things ready down at Starbase for Starship Flight 7 later in the week. I want to thank, of course, our Spaceflight Now editor, Stephen Young, for running the technical operations of the broadcast. Give the last word to one of our viewers with a super chat, the Blonde Space Girl. Appreciate the support tonight. And she says, "Jeff, I need you to write me an excuse letter for work tomorrow." Thank you. Yes, it's been a late night for a lot of folks who were hoping to see the launch, but Blue will be back ready to try again when they have that anomaly resolved. So for all of us here at Spaceflight Now, I'm Will Robinson Smith. Remember, be good to yourselves, be good to others. We'll be back with you in not too many hours from now for the planned launch of Starlink 12-4. And we will see you then. And until then, bye-bye.